In this video today, I'm going to talk to you about emotions and manifestation. And I believe it's something that nobody covers. And I can't understand why, because as human beings, we feel a lot of emotion. And I've been studying manifestation now for, whoa, it must be 33 years. And believe me, I've been through some emotions during that time. And this is something that used to baffle me. I've grappled with it, I've been down different avenues with it. And that's why I've decided to create this video, and probably will create others coming from a different angle on the same subject about manifestation and emotions. Now, my setup is not perfect, but it's what I've got at the moment. So I'll do my best to draw for you and illustrate to you what I mean. So let's get started. So, when we're talking about a manifestation, we've got the self that is now, the reality that we're living in at this moment in time, and then we've got the person that is the self with our vision. And these are two very, very different people. And to put this into perspective, think about it. Think about how when you say you decide to go on a diet or say you decide on an exercise regime, you are not going to be the same version of you once you've reached your desired target. So, for example, let's say you want to lose a couple of stones and pounds and you set off on your journey, you're going to be a different embodiment of you when you've lost that weight. So you're going to be eating differently, you might be exercising, and that requires a journey to get there. And that journey is often very emotional, and the reason why a lot of people give up. So to get from the self that you are now to the self that's in your vision, you've got a journey to go through. And this journey, you can't get away from it. It involves emotion and emotion on so many different levels. Now, you will hear law of attraction experts talk to you about this one here, this one that's got the vision. You will hear them say that you need to vibrate at this level, and they are right. Oh, look at my R there. And I want to just do a caveat here. I'm not a great speller, so there could likely be spelling mistakes in this video. Let me just move my chair. So you will hear them saying you need to vibrate at this level, and I've met people and it's valid, but how many people have tried this? You might try affirmations, you might try lots of different healing modalities. You might try yoga, meditation, and all these things are really good. I do all of these things, but none of them cover what I'm going to cover now, and that's this emotional plane. So getting back to the human body, we have a physical body, we have a mental body, and we have an emotional body. And in other videos, I'll cover the other bodies. But in this video, I'm talking about the emotional body and what goes on in the emotional body when we have a manifestation, and why a lot of people turn around or don't get very far. And it's because of this emotional plane. So let's go back to this about vibrating at the level of the vision. Well, that's true. Last week I did a video, which I'll redo because my board didn't look very good. You couldn't see what I was writing, but I did a video about how you need to embody your vision in order to get your vision. And that's so true. You need to be the person who's already got that vision. And I will, like I said, I'll make another one. I'll do another one next week on that, so that I can be really clear on that and give some really clear on instructions on how to do that. But what happens is when we start to embody that version of us who's already got that vision, then that's when the fun starts. That's when the rubber hits the road. That's when all the emotion starts to come up. So you hear people say, imagine you've already got what you want. Have emotions like you've got already what you want. Do visualizations, do meditations like you've already got what you want. And that works. You can sit down, you can do a meditation, you can pretend that you've got your life by the sea and you're going to sunsets and sunrises and you can feel those emotions. But what all these videos miss out is what happens in between when we get to real life and real life circumstances and we're not actually sat on that beach and we're not actually in those circumstances with those feelings. And here's what happens when we start to vibrate. And so this is energy. When we start to vibrate at this level of this vision, our energy system changes and we start to feel better. And at first, it feels really great. And inside your system is energy from your childhood. I'll explain that one in another video as well. It's all in my book. If you want to buy my book, it's called Borrow My Belief, and it's all in there. And if anybody buys it before the 29th of April 2025, reads it, tags me on Instagram at Mama Joanne Phoenix and puts a review up, I'll give you a free 30-minute session with me. So anyway, I've covered all that in there. So when you vibrate at this level, when you do those visualizations and you're moving towards that, anything that's not in your system, which is denser, has to move and come out. There's no place for it anymore. And so it comes up to the surface. And in most cultures, we're not taught how to feel our emotions. And so what happens is we're feeling great, we're really zen, we're doing these visualizations, we're doing the affirmations, we're thinking about what we want. And then we hit a life circumstance and it triggers us. And suddenly we feel terrible. And then what happens? The emotion comes up. And the emotion is usually something like anger, sadness, or fear. Now, you can try to resist that, and good luck with that, because I've tried that through the years. That does not work. And in my experience, if we try to resist the anger, the sadness, and the fear, and we try to move back to these states, it's kind of like self-abandonment, it's self-torture. And what we resist persists. And what happens is it still wants to come up and we suffer. And then the mind gets hijacked with the thoughts because emotions hijack the mind. And I know this all sounds complicated. And like I said, I've broken it more down in my book. And then we end up with all these thoughts. And before we know it, we have forgotten about our vision. We're living in daily life and we do things like complain about our circumstances, we project, so what do I mean about project? For those that don't know about that, we blame other people. We think it's everybody else's fault. We go back to old habits and we forget about this vision. And then we might one day decide to try again, and the same thing happens again, and we go in a cycle, and we go in a cycle, and we go in a cycle. So what to do? I don't want to just give you this information and tell you not what to do. Now, the best thing that I've come across is to anchor, to find an anchor. Find an anchor of your vision. So what do I mean about that? Well, here's some ways you can do it. You can have a daily practice where every day you decide on a time that you're going to look at your vision, dream your vision, do your meditations, and remind yourself of what I'm teaching here. Remind yourself, oh, don't be hard on yourself. Oh, there's what I've done. My emotions hijacked my mind again. Let me get back on it, because repetition actually really works. This here, this vision and this vibration takes repetition. It doesn't happen overnight. Think about it. When you learn to drive, you don't sit in the car and look at it all and off you go. You need driving lessons, you need an instructor, you need to keep going. And then eventually, when you can actually drive, you'll know, for those of you who can, you arrive at a destination that you go to regularly and you think, I don't even know how I get here. So, how did you get from wanting to learn how to drive to not even knowing how you got somewhere and it becoming unconscious? It was repetition. So, a daily practice where you keep returning to this vision over and over again. Now, a lot of people don't think affirmations work. And I went through a phase where I didn't think they worked, but they do. And again, it's affirmations, is repetition. And when you first start doing affirmations and you're doing affirmations about something that you systemically don't believe, all this emotion is going to come up. So a daily practice and anchoring your vision. And then what can you do about this anger, sadness, fear, frustration, whatever it is? Well, the best thing you can do is love it. Don't resist it. Love it. The best growth and the best way to get to that is by meeting this. And that might sound contradictory to a lot of you. That might sound, well, am I not supposed to be vibrating here? And the way I'll describe it just now is it's a little bit like a boiling kettle. The energy in your system is like that water that's wanting to be felt, that's wanting to turn into the steam and then dissipate out of your system. So if you can love it and you can meet it. And you might know about inner child work, you could use that, shadow work. And for those of you that don't know anything about that, as a great starting point is to journal. And when I say journal, I don't mean to complain, project, or use old habits. Yes, journal about it. Yes, be realistic about it. Yes, get it out of your system. But once you've done that, let go of the blaming other people, let go of the poor me, let go of the victimhood, and then ask yourself this question: how is this for me? Or how is this serving me? Now, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And if you stay with this, and if you really meet it and you let yourself feel anger, sadness, fear, frustration, whatever it is, and if you journal on these questions, I promise you, you will experience what seems to be like miracles. That when you work with this energy in the middle and you don't run away and you don't do what I've written over here, you will reach this state quicker than if you meditated for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever, because you are working with what's in your system. And a great analogy I like to use is if you were in a grocery store, a supermarket, and you met a little child that was lost and they'd lost their parents and they were crying, you wouldn't just look at that child and go, oh, they're lost. I'm just going to go and find help, leave them there crying, get a voice thing put out on the tannoy looking at their parents. No, you wouldn't. That's the solution. And that's what most people try to do. You wouldn't. You'd go to that child, you'd get down on their level, you would speak to them, you'd try to understand them, you'd comfort them, and you'd reassure them. And then that child would start to calm down, and then you would start looking for its parents. And that's like this here. When you start to meet yourself, and then the next step is to take responsibility for yourself. So instead of projecting, instead of blaming someone else, instead of complaining, if you take responsibility for your part in this, then that's the part that you can change, especially in relationships. So let's take a common scenario. A common scenario would be that somebody has got a problem in a relationship of any type, and their vision involves that other person changing. So it might be somebody who like somebody and that person's not into them. It might be a business partner who doesn't want to do the same things. It might be a family member and you're not on the same page. Now, you have no control over that other person. You only have control over your reality and what you can do. And whilst you're complaining, projecting it onto them, that's an old habit that you keep going round and round and round in patterns and circles. And I just invite you to have a little think just now about a situation in your life that involves someone else that you don't like. And I bet you it's been either going on for quite a long time and you've not been able to find a solution, or you've been in this scenario before with somebody else. And if you can go here and you can say, how is this for me? Or how is this serving me? And you can find your part in that situation. And then after that, if you can then change your habits, you can alter your habits and patterns, then that's where the gold dust is. And this all leads to you reaching your vision. This is the hardest part of manifestation, and yet the most magical part of manifestation, because it's not until we become that person in that vision that we will get it. And that involves feeling the emotions that are in your system that are not conducive with the feelings in that vision, and doing the things that that person would be doing. And often it involves, well, it always involves changing your habits and doing things differently. So it might mean walking away from a relationship that's no longer serving you, or it might be leaving a job that's no longer in alignment with you. It might be getting up an hour earlier every day. It's usually something actually that's really quite sore and really hard to change because we've become used to that version of us. So that's enough for today. I will go into more depths in other areas of this in future weeks. I'm going to keep coming on a Wednesday and doing manifestation, not too longer videos so that they're digestible. And I'll keep covering different aspects of manifestation. And I'll pop in the comments the link to my book if anybody wants to go any deeper.